One moment, I was on top of the world, moments away from securing a legacy-defining deal. The next, everything had crumbled into dust. "Cassie, we need to talk." Victor Sterling's voice, usually smooth and commanding, was clipped, almost cold. It was almost 11 p.m. here in Singapore, far too late for a routine check-in. A knot tightened in my stomach. "Victor, is everything all right? We're on schedule for the aura signing, just polishing up the final drafts," I replied, trying to keep my tone light, but a shiver ran down my spine. "No, Cassie, it's not about the signing." He paused, and the silence stretched, thick with unspoken finality. "Your employment with Viridian Dynamics is terminated, effective immediately." The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. The city lights outside seemed to mock me, their vibrancy suddenly oppressive. Terminated? Now? On the cusp of the biggest deal of my career? My mind reeled, grasping for a logical explanation. Had I misheard? Was this some cruel joke? What are you talking about, Victor?" "This is a joke, right? The aura deal, ... I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "It's no joke, Cassandra. Your access to company systems has been revoked. Your name has already been removed from all relevant communications regarding the aura partnership." His voice was devoid of emotion, a flat declaration that sealed my fate. "You'll be contacted by HR in the morning regarding your severance package. Good luck." He hung up. The line went dead, leaving me in the chilling silence of my suddenly desolate suite. My heart hammered against my ribs. Disbelief warred with a creeping dread. How could this be happening? The vibrant neon glow of Singapore City streamed through the panoramic windows of my penthouse suite, painting the luxurious interior in hues of electric blue and pulsing magenta. Below, the city thrummed with the ceaseless energy of global commerce, a symphony I'd orchestrated countless times. Today was to be my magnum opus, the finalization of a €1.2 billion strategic partnership with Aura Innovations, a deal I, Cassandra Cassie Thorne, had meticulously built over the past 5 weeks. At 33 years old, I was the Global Integration Director at Viridian Dynamics, and this agreement was poised to redefine our industry. My tablet lay open on the sleek, obsidian table, displaying the last few clauses I needed to review before the morning's signing ceremony. The air buzzed with a sense of triumph, a culmination of tireless days and sleepless nights. I stretched, a rare moment of relaxation, and glanced at my phone. It was then, moments after Victor's call, that the gravity of his words truly sank in. One moment, I was on top of the world, moments away from securing a legacy-defining deal. The next, everything had crumbled into dust. The screen of my tablet, once a symbol of my success, now felt like an empty canvas, reflecting nothing but the shattered pieces of my ambition. The initial shock began to recede, replaced by a cold, searing anger. My mind, usually a finely tuned machine, raced through every interaction, every meeting, every late-night email. How could this have happened? I tried to access my corporate email, but the screen flashed an immediate access denied message. My Viridian Dynamics accounts, including the secure project drives, were locked down. It was as if my entire professional existence at the company had been wiped clean, faster than a digital dust bunny. I remembered the frantic email exchanges from just a few hours prior, coordinating with Isabelle Dubois from Aura Innovations, their Director of External Relations. My name had been prominently featured on those chains, attached to every critical document. Now, a quick search on the shared drive confirmed Victor's chilling words. My name was gone, scrubbed. It was a phantom limb sensation, reaching for something that was no longer there. Then, a flicker of memory. A few 7 weeks ago, during a late-night session preparing for the initial phase of the Aura partnership, my younger brother, Liam, had called. He's always been overly cautious, a stark contrast to my risk-taking nature. He'd mentioned a whisper he'd overheard, a rumor about Victor's strategic plays, implying that after certain high-profile deals closed, key personnel were often reassigned. I'd laughed it off, dismissing it as office gossip. Victor had always seemed to champion my initiatives, giving me unprecedented autonomy. I had implicitly trusted him, a trust that now felt like a gaping wound. My gaze fell upon a framed photo on the nightstand. Liam and I, grinning broadly at a tech conference years ago. His words, once a fleeting concern, now resonated with an ominous prescience. He had warned me. And I, in my unwavering belief in my own indispensable value to Viridian, had ignored him. The bitterness was a harsh taste in my mouth. This wasn't just a termination. It was a meticulously planned betrayal, executed with surgical precision. The question wasn't if I'd been set up, but how deeply the roots of this deception ran. The anger hardened into resolve. I wasn't just going to lick my wounds, I was going to fight back. But how? My first instinct was to call Lena Petrova, Viridian Dynamics' head of internal legal affairs. She was a no-nonsense strategist, sharp as a tack, and at 32, one of the few people I genuinely trusted within the company's labyrinthine structure. My fingers flew across the keypad, but her line went straight to voicemail. I left a concise message, hoping she wasn't already tied up in whatever damage control Victor was undoubtedly initiating. Lena, it's Cassie. Call me back. Urgent. They've terminated me, and I suspect foul play regarding the Aura deal. A chilling thought then struck me. The forged document. During one of my last meetings with Victor, he'd casually mentioned a new severance waiver clause being added to all high-level executive contracts, a standard update, he'd assured me. I'd vaguely recalled signing something digitally, a quick click-through amidst a pile of other e-documents. At the time, it seemed innocuous, a bureaucratic formality. Now, a cold dread seeped into my veins. Could that be it? A clause that transferred liability in case of executive removal? It felt too convenient, too perfectly timed. I needed to see those documents, but my access was gone. I paced the suite, my mind racing. Then, a thought sparked. While I couldn't access Viridian's internal network, I still had my personal encrypted drive, where I meticulously backed up all my work, including contracts, for my own records. It was a habit born from years of navigating corporate bureaucracy, a small act of rebellion against the constant push for transparency at all costs. I plugged in my external drive. It took a few tense moments for the old interface to load. There it was, the updated contract, dated just 7 weeks prior. I scrolled through, my heart pounding, until I found it. The severance waiver clause. My signature was there, digitally appended. But as I scrutinized it, a subtle discrepancy leaped out. The kerning, the spacing between the letters, was ever so slightly off. And the pressure points, the subtle variations in thickness that a real digital signature would display based on a stylus or finger input, were uniformly flat. It was a perfect, yet subtly imperfect clone. My digital signature had been used on a forged document, weaponized against me. This wasn't just termination. It was outright corporate espionage, an elaborate setup designed to leave me exposed and vulnerable. The stakes had just escalated dramatically. I wasn't just fighting for my job. I was fighting for my professional reputation, my integrity, and possibly my freedom. With the realization that my digital signature had been cloned, the immediate next step was clear. I needed proof. I also needed an ally, someone on the inside who understood the technical intricacies of Viridian systems as well as the legal ramifications. My thoughts immediately went to Javier Mendez. At 30, Javier was a network guru, a quiet genius who designed much of Viridian's secure data infrastructure. If anyone could trace a digital ghost, it was him. I sent him an urgent, encrypted message through a secure personal channel we'd set up years ago for informal tech discussions, a channel off the Viridian grid. It was a long shot, given his loyalty to the company, but I had to try. Javier, it's Cassie. I need your help. Urgent and confidential. My digital signature was forged on a severance waiver clause. I'm locked out of Viridian systems. Can you check audit logs for any unusual activity related to my accounts, specifically backdated access or unusual digital signature applications, say, around 7 to 8 weeks ago? Minutes later, my phone vibrated with a cryptic reply. Meet me at the Cyber Cafe on Orchard Road in 30, solo. Javier was cautious, but he was in. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by renewed urgency. I arrived at the bustling cafe, its vibrant, tech-themed decor a stark contrast to the grim reality I was living. Javier was already there, hunched over a steaming cup of kopi, his eyes scanning the room. He nodded towards an empty booth in the corner. Cassie, what's going on? Lena just sent out an emergency legal directive to limit all communications regarding personnel changes, he said, his voice low. Victor terminated me, out of the blue, and I found this, I said, showing him the analysis of my forged signature on my personal tablet. I think they're trying to cut me out of the Aura deal and pin something on me. Javier's eyes narrowed as he examined the data. This is sophisticated, not just a simple copy-paste. Someone had access to your biometric signature data or a very high-res scan of a previous physical signature to replicate this level of detail and to embed it into a document that points to an internal operation, not an external hack. He pulled out a secure laptop, its screen a blur of code. I can't access live Viridian logs without triggering alarms now that you're terminated, but I've got a cached version of some audit trails from about 8 weeks ago when they were doing system-wide security updates. If there were any unauthorized revisions to documents or unusual access to executive signature profiles, it might be buried there. We spent the next hour hunched over his laptop, navigating through encrypted pathways. The cafe hummed around us, but my world had shrunk to the glowing screen. Javier's fingers danced across the keyboard, a symphony of keystrokes. Then he froze. Got something, he muttered, his voice barely audible. Look at this, an unauthorized access log to a secure terminal, not on the main executive network. It's tied to an IP address that resolves to Victor's personal assistant's private terminal. And it shows activity modifying several high-level contractual documents, including one granting the CEO full legal authority for international agreements, backdated to before your trip to Singapore. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just a forged signature on a severance waiver. This was a full-blown conspiracy, a calculated maneuver to strip me of authority, take control of my deal, and likely leave me holding the bag for any future liabilities. They had not only cut me out, they had systematically disarmed me before the blade even fell. The ghost in the machine was very real, and it was signing documents in my name. The revelation from Javier hit me hard. This wasn't just a simple dismissal. It was a sophisticated corporate coup. Victor hadn't just fired me. He'd stripped me of my authority before the termination, using my own digital identity against me. The depth of the betrayal was staggering, but it also ignited a spark of defiant understanding. Victor thought he had outsmarted me. He didn't know the full extent of my foresight. My thoughts immediately turned to Isabelle Dubois at Aura Innovations. Victor had likely spun a tale about my reassignment or some fabricated misstep. I needed to warn her, to counter his narrative before it solidified. But how? Any direct contact from me would be seen as a desperate act from a disgruntled ex-employee. Then it clicked. A memory from 8 weeks ago, when the Aura partnership was still in its conceptual stages. I'd insisted on a layered security architecture for the intellectual property exchange, a failsafe for unforeseen circumstances. I had, in a strategic move, established a neutral intermediary holding company, Apex Solutions Corporation, based out of Zurich, Switzerland. The legal contracts for the Aura deal, particularly those concerning the initial data transfer and transitional rights, explicitly listed Apex Solutions Corporation as the primary recipient. And the crucial detail, I was the sole listed officer and CEO of Apex Solutions Corp. At the time, it had seemed like an overly cautious but necessary step to ensure data integrity and intellectual property protection for both parties. Victor had grumbled about the extra paperwork, but ultimately approved it, too focused on the €1 billion prize to question the minutiae of the legal framework. He probably saw Apex Solutions Corp. As a mere placeholder, a technicality. He had no idea it was my secret weapon. The secure data environment I'd designed for the Aura deal, the Nexus environment, as I'd codenamed it, had a final, irreversible biometric override. It wasn't just a retinal scan, which could be faked with high-resolution images, but a dual-layer authentication, voice print and fingerprint scan. Only I had the unique combination of these two biometrics registered to authorize the ultimate system-wide data release to Aura Innovations. It was my digital lock, and I held the only key. I remembered building that override with a quiet satisfaction, a nagging suspicion in the back of my mind that in the high-stakes world of corporate finance, absolute trust was a luxury no one could afford. It was a failsafe, a final, unbreachable barrier designed for precisely this kind of scenario. A safeguard against internal sabotage, an insurance policy for my work, and for the integrity of the deal itself. Victor might have erased my name from Viridian Systems, but he couldn't erase the architecture I had built. He couldn't bypass the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper was me. I looked at Javier, who was still processing the implications of the forged documents. Javier, I need you to confirm something for me. Check the original Aura contract drafts, the ones before the last-minute revisions. Do they still list Apex Solutions Corporation as the initial data recipient for the secure transfer? His fingers flew across his keyboard, a flurry of motion. He pulled up the older versions. Yes, Cassie, they do. It's right there, buried in Appendix C, Apex Solutions Corp., as the initial holding entity for the transitional data rights. Victor's team must have overlooked it, or they thought it was irrelevant. A faint but distinct glimmer of hope appeared on my shattered horizon. This was it. This was my leverage. Victor had tried to steal my future, but I had quietly woven my own escape route, my own mechanism for control, into the very fabric of the deal. He had thought he was the ultimate architect, but he had merely been building on my foundation. Armed with the knowledge of Apex Solutions Corp Towers and the biometric override, a new plan began to form, precise and audacious. Victor's next move would undoubtedly be to try and finalize the Aura deal without me, using the forged documents to assert his authority. But he would hit a wall, a digital barrier he couldn't breach. My phone rang, pulling me from my strategic musings. It was an unknown number, but the international dial code hinted at its origin. I took a breath and answered. This is Isabelle Dubois from Aura Innovations. I hope I'm not disturbing you, Ms. Thorne, given the recent changes. Her voice was professional, polite, but I detected a subtle undercurrent of concern, perhaps even suspicion. "Not at all, Ms. Dubois. I'm glad you called," I replied, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "I understand Victor Sterling has communicated some news regarding my position at Viridian Dynamics." "Indeed. He informed us you were assigned to another critical project within Viridian, and that he would be personally overseeing the final stages of the Aura partnership," she said. The word reassigned hung in the air, a flimsy veil over a harsher truth. "Ms. Dubois, with all due respect to Mr. Sterling, that is not entirely accurate. I was terminated without cause, abruptly, and my access to Viridian systems was immediately revoked," I stated, choosing directness over elaborate explanation. "I have reason to believe this termination and Mr. Sterling's subsequent actions are part of a larger, unauthorized attempt to seize control of the Aura partnership, potentially compromising the integrity of our intellectual property transfer." A beat of silence. Then, Isabel spoke, her tone now laced with genuine alarm. "Compromising the integrity? What are you suggesting, Ms. Thorne?" "I designed the secure data environment for this deal, the Nexus environment. It includes a final, unalterable biometric override, specifically my voice print and fingerprint scan, required for the ultimate data release to Aura Innovations. No one else at Viridian, not even Mr. Sterling, has the authority or the biometrics to authorize that transfer." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Are you telling me that if Mr. Sterling attempts to finalize the data transfer, he will be locked out?" Isabel asked, her voice incredulous. "Precisely," I confirmed. "Any attempt by him to override the system will result in an immediate shutdown of the data pipeline and an alert to both Viridian's and Aura's highest security protocols. I built it to ensure no single point of failure or malicious intent could compromise the deal." "This is astonishing, Miss Thorne," Isabel finally said, her voice a mix of shock and dawning realization. "Mr. Sterling has been pushing for immediate finalization. He tried to override the system this morning, citing a minor technical glitch, but he was indeed locked out." A wave of grim satisfaction washed over me. He'd tried, and he'd failed. My foresight had paid off. "Ms. Dubois, the legal contracts for the Aura deal still list Apex Solutions Corporation as the initial recipient of data and transitional rights. As the sole CEO of Apex Solutions Corp., I am the only one who can legally and technically authorize the next steps for this partnership. So, if Apex Solutions Corp. wishes to be the permanent partner, we would need your countersignature by tomorrow morning," Isabel clarified, her strategic mind already working through the implications. "That's correct," I said, a glimmer of victory in my voice. "And I assure you, Apex Solutions Corporation is prepared to proceed with full transparency and integrity, unlike certain other parties." The line crackled for a moment, then Isabel spoke, her tone firm and decisive. "Ms. Thorne, this changes everything. Aura Innovations prides itself on integrity. We will be reviewing this situation with the utmost seriousness. Thank you for this information. We will be in touch shortly." She hung up, leaving me with a profound sense of relief. The game was on. Victor might have thought he had won the first round, but he had just run headfirst into a wall I had built myself. And the battle for the Aura partnership was far from over. The silence after Isabel's call was different this time. It wasn't the deafening silence of shock, but the quiet hum of a strategic mind at work. Victor's failure to bypass the biometric lock confirmed my theory. He was desperate, exposed, and now cornered. The ball was in my court, but the game was far from over. There was no doubt he would retaliate, and probably with a vengeance, attempting to discredit me publicly. Just as I anticipated, the first ripple of his counterattack surfaced shortly after dawn. My personal email, usually a haven from corporate drama, buzzed with an incoming message. The sender was a familiar name. Marcus Chen, a renowned tech journalist known for his sharp investigative pieces and an almost uncanny ability to sniff out corporate misconduct. The subject line read, Inquiry, Viridian Dynamics and Cassandra Thorne's Dismissal. My heart gave a sharp, unpleasant lurch. Marcus's email stated he had received anonymous claims regarding my abrupt dismissal due to significant contractual violations and insubordination. It was vague enough to be plausible, damaging enough to be devastating. The carefully crafted smear campaign had begun. He requested a statement from me by midday. My first instinct was to fight fire with fire, to immediately draft a scathing rebuttal exposing Victor's treachery. But then I paused. What if that's exactly what he wanted? A public spat, a war of words that would distract from the core issue and ultimately muddy the waters. A scandal, regardless of its truth, could damage the Aura deal, or at least delay it. And delays, in this high-stakes world, were often fatal. I leaned back in my chair, surveying the Singapore skyline. The sun was now climbing, casting long shadows across the polished skyscrapers. Victor was trying to bait me, to pull me into a defensive posture where I'd be forced to explain myself while he continued his backroom manipulations. I wouldn't play his game. My strength lay in the system I had built, not in public accusations. I took a deep breath and deliberately archived Marcus's email without replying. Let the anonymous claims fester. Let Victor think his diversionary tactics were working. The truth in this digital age had a way of surfacing through its own channels, especially when it involved unbreachable system architecture and undeniable audit trails. My silence wasn't weakness, it was a calculated weapon. I had designed a system where Victor's actions would speak louder than any words, mine or his. His repeated failed attempts to access the Nexus environment were already screaming his guilt to Aura Innovations. Instead of engaging in a public relations battle, I focused on what mattered, solidifying my position with Aura. My thoughts went to Dr. Elias Vance. At 42, he was the lead architect for Aura's core product development, a visionary in secure data exchange, and a man known for his unwavering ethical stance against corporate misconduct. I'd had several deep philosophical conversations with him during the initial phases of the deal, discussions that transcended mere business and delved into the very principles of data integrity and corporate responsibility. If anyone would appreciate the nuances of my design and the implications of Victor's actions, it would be him. I reached out to Dr. Vance via a secure messaging app we'd used for sensitive technical discussions, bypassing official channels. Dr. Vance, Cassie Thorne here. Urgent matter regarding the integrity of the Aura Viridian data exchange. I have irrefutable evidence of unauthorized revisions and forged documentation orchestrated by Victor Sterling to seize control of the partnership and bypass the established secure transfer protocols. This directly impacts Aura's IP. Can you speak confidentially? His reply came almost instantly. Cassie, I've been tracking the Viridian network anomalies since yesterday morning. I was hoping you'd reach out. Send me everything you have securely. This is precisely the type of corporate overreach I despise. Integrity must prevail. A wave of relief, potent and immediate, washed over me. Dr. Vance was more than just an ally. He was a moral compass in this treacherous corporate wilderness. I swiftly compiled the forensic evidence Javier had uncovered. The audit logs showing Victor's assistant's terminal accessing and modifying my contract. The side-by-side comparison of my true digital signature versus the forged one on the severance waiver clause. And the original contract drafts explicitly listing Apex Solutions Corporation as the initial data gatekeeper. I encrypted the entire package and sent it to Dr. Vance through our secure portal. This was my moment of truth. My integrity versus Victor's deceit. And I had a strong feeling that with Dr. Vance on my side, integrity was about to win. The next few hours were a blur of nervous anticipation. My phone, typically a constant companion, lay inert on the bedside table. I couldn't focus on anything beyond the fate of my carefully constructed countermove. Had Dr. Vance fully grasped the implications? Would Aura Innovations stand by Viridian, or would they see the truth in the digital breadcrumbs I had provided? The stakes felt impossibly high, not just for my career, but for the integrity of the entire €1.2 billion partnership. Then, just as the Singapore sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, my secure messaging app buzzed. It was Dr. Vance. "Cassie, your evidence is compelling. Astounding, in fact. The level of premeditated deception is unprecedented. Isabel and I have presented this to the Aura Innovations Board. They are, understandably, quite disturbed." A sigh of relief I hadn't realized I was holding escaped me. "And their decision?" I typed back, my fingers trembling slightly. "They are terminating the direct agreement with Viridian Dynamics," Dr. Vance's message read. My heart leaped. However, given the foundational importance of the Nexus environment and the data transfer protocols you designed, and the clear security and ethical breach by Viridian, the board has voted to proceed with the partnership through Apex Solutions Corp. My vision swam for a moment. It was happening. My foresight, my quiet defiance in establishing Apex Solutions Corp. All those months ago was paying off. The company Victor had dismissed as a bureaucratic formality was now the cornerstone of the deal he had so brazenly tried to steal. "There's a catch, though, Cassie." Dr. Vance's next message appeared. "To finalize this, Apex Solutions Corp. needs your countersignature on the new Aura Apex agreement by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Singapore time. It includes a clause which you actually embedded months prior, making Apex Solutions Corp. The sole gatekeeper of the infrastructure for this partnership. Essentially, you become the definitive authority for all future data and strategic exchanges." A ghost of a smile touched my lips. The clause he mentioned, I remembered it. During the initial drafting phases, I'd insisted on a sole gatekeeper provision for the secure environment, arguing it minimized risk and streamlined future integrations. Victor, blinded by the potential profits and assured by his legal team it was a standard contingency, had waved it through. He had unwittingly signed away his own future control. The irony was exquisite. I confirmed my readiness to sign. The new contract, digitally secured, arrived moments later. It was lean, direct, and crucially listed Apex Solutions Corporation as the primary partner. My eyes scanned the familiar language of the sole gatekeeper clause, a quiet testament to my earlier instincts. With a steady hand, I initiated the voice print and fingerprint scan on my secure tablet. The system word recognized my unique biometrics and confirmed the signature. The digital ink solidified, irreversible. Simultaneously, a cascade of automated notifications was triggered. Viridian Dynamics' access to the Nexus environment was immediately blocked. Their internal systems, which were supposed to be the conduit for the data transfer, displayed a stark counterparty status revoked due to breach of transparency message. The Viridian board, undoubtedly already reeling from Victor's failed biometric override attempts, would receive an immediate detailed report from Aura Innovations outlining the precise nature of the breach, complete with the forensic evidence I'd provided to Dr. Vance. The digital battle was won. I had not only protected my work, but had redirected the entire €1.2 billion flow of the partnership. Victor's meticulously crafted betrayal had backfired spectacularly, creating the very entity that would now stand in his place. The storm clouds that had gathered over my career were beginning to break, replaced by the clear, determined sky of a new beginning. The morning after was a whirlwind. News travels fast in the interconnected world of global finance, and a €1.2 billion deal suddenly rerouted was less a ripple and more a tsunami. My phone, previously silent, now buzzed incessantly with notifications. Not from the tech journalist, Marcus Chen, who I had consciously ignored, but from a flurry of high-level industry contacts, former colleagues, and even a couple of headhunters. They weren't asking about my dismissal. They were asking about Apex Solutions Corp. And its sudden, pivotal role in the Aura Innovations partnership. The truth, as I had predicted, was surfacing through the most impactful channels. The first official confirmation of the seismic shift came through a news alert on my tablet. Breaking news: Viridian Dynamics shares plummet amidst Aura Innovations partnership collapse. The headline screamed across financial news feeds. The article detailed how Viridian's stock had dropped almost 2 points in early trading, wiping out a significant portion of their market capitalization. And buried deeper in the report was the critical detail. Sources close to the Aura Innovations board indicate a breach of transparency on Viridian's part led to the sudden shift in partnership structure, with the agreement now moving forward directly with Apex Solutions Corp. Then came the internal memo, leaked from Viridian and quickly circulating through encrypted channels, a frantic attempt at damage control. It announced the immediate suspension of Victor Sterling as CEO, citing internal investigations into recent operational irregularities. The carefully worded corporate speak couldn't hide the obvious. Victor had been caught. The irony was sweet, a delicious tang on my tongue. He had tried to erase my name, but in doing so, he had carved his own downfall. Later that afternoon, a video call came through from Isabelle Dubois, her face a mixture of relief and professional satisfaction. "Cassie, I wanted to personally thank you. Your integrity, your foresight, it saved us from a disastrous partnership. The internal investigations at Viridian are going to be brutal for Sterling. We've just confirmed with their board that they've initiated legal proceedings against him for corporate malfeasance." "I simply protected the deal, Isabel, and my own work," I replied, a sense of calm settling over me. The venom of betrayal was receding, replaced by a quiet pride in my capabilities. "More than that, Cassie. You demonstrated an unwavering commitment to ethical practice. In an industry often devoid of it, that's priceless." She paused, then continued, her tone shifting to one of genuine admiration. "Aura Innovations is incredibly impressed with Apex Solutions Corp. S structure and, of course, your leadership. We envision a very long and prosperous collaboration." The conversation continued for almost an hour, discussing the future roadmap for Apex Solutions Corp. And its expanded role in the partnership. My small, discreet holding company, born out of a subtle unease and a need for a safety net, was now a legitimate high-profile entity, poised to become a key player in the tech landscape. The final validation came a day later, when I, Cassandra Thorne, as the newly recognized spokesperson and CEO of Apex Solutions Corp., sat for my first exclusive interview with an international business publication. The journalist, who introduced herself as Anya Sharma, wasted no time. "Ms. Thorne, there are rumors circulating that your sudden departure from Viridian Dynamics was less a reassignment and more a dismissal. Yet, now you're at the helm of Apex Solutions Corporation, the new cornerstone of the Aura Innovations deal. Can you clarify the narrative?" I looked directly into the camera, my voice clear and unwavering. My departure from Viridian Dynamics was indeed abrupt. There were attempts to undermine my authority and seize control of a strategic partnership I had built. They erased my name from their systems. They attempted to nullify my contributions. But I had built a failsafe, a system, an entity that protected the integrity of the deal. And in the end, I paused, a knowing glint in my eye. They erased my name, so I wrote it across their biggest failure. The words hung in the air, a definitive statement that resonated far beyond the interview room. It was a declaration of resilience, a testament to the fact that when faced with injustice, you don't just pick up the pieces, you build something better, something stronger, something undeniably yours. The interview went viral. They erased my name, so I wrote it across their biggest failure. Became the rallying cry for countless professionals who had faced corporate injustice. My story, once a personal battle, resonated with a universal truth. That true power isn't granted, it's earned, and sometimes it has to be taken back with unwavering resolve. Apex Solutions Corporation, once a phantom entity in a complex contract, was now firmly on the global map, a testament to foresight and integrity. In the weeks that followed, the aftermath at Viridian Dynamics was swift and brutal. The internal investigation, fueled by Aura Innovation's detailed reports and the forensic evidence I'd provided, unearthed a labyrinthine network of deceit orchestrated by Victor Sterling. It wasn't just the forged severance waiver clause. There were deeper financial irregularities, shell companies, and illicit dealings, all tied to his desperate attempt to consolidate power and enrich himself. The company's board, facing public outcry and a plummeting stock value that had now dropped by over 3 points, was forced to take drastic action. Victor was not only permanently terminated, but faced multiple lawsuits, both from Viridian and from shareholders. His name, once synonymous with corporate success, was now a byword for disgraced ambition. My own life, however, transformed in exhilarating ways. Lena Petrova, still at Viridian but now heading a task force dedicated to corporate governance reform, reached out, offering her insights and contacts within the legal community. Javier Mendez, the brilliant network guru, quietly resigned from Viridian and was the first person I officially hired at Apex Solutions Corp, becoming our Chief Technology Officer. His loyalty and unparalleled technical skill were invaluable as we began to scale up. The strategic partnership with Aura Innovations blossomed. Under my leadership, Apex Solutions Corp became more than just a data conduit. It evolved into a trusted consultancy for secure, ethical, and innovative digital infrastructure. We started attracting top talent, drawn not just by the challenging work, but by the company's foundational values: transparency, integrity, and a commitment to doing business the right way. One crisp Singapore morning, Dr. Elias Vance from Aura Innovations and I stood on the observation deck of our newly leased offices, overlooking the same glittering skyline that had seemed to mock me on the night Victor fired me. "It's remarkable, Cassie," Dr. Vance said, a genuine smile on his face. "From that one desperate call, you've built an empire founded on principles, not just profit." I smiled back, the memory of that terrifying night now distant, almost surreal. It wasn't about building an empire, Elias. It was about proving that my work, my integrity, couldn't be erased. They thought they could silence me, but they only amplified my voice. My journey, from the brink of professional annihilation to the helm of a thriving new enterprise, was a powerful testament to resilience. It wasn't just about reclaiming my career. It was about reclaiming my narrative, about turning betrayal into a launching pad. Viridian Dynamics and Victor Sterling had tried to bury me, but all they did was plant a seed. And from that seed, something far more powerful, more meaningful, and undeniably mine had grown. The horizon, once shattered, was now boundless, filled with the promise of a new dawn. The story of Cassandra Cassie Thorne offers a powerful testament to the strength of meticulous preparation, the critical role of sharp intuition, and the remarkable ability to transform adversity into opportunity. This narrative clearly illustrates that even in seemingly trustworthy professional environments, maintaining vigilance and continuously enhancing personal capabilities is paramount. Cassie didn't just excel at her job, she proactively built layers of protection, such as establishing Apex Solutions Corporation and integrating biometric security measures into the system. This wasn't the action of an overly suspicious individual, but of a forward-thinking professional who understood the inherent risks in high-stakes deals and the competitive nature of the corporate world. Furthermore, the story emphasizes that integrity and professional ethics will ultimately triumph over deception. Despite Victor Sterling's every maneuver to sideline Cassie and claim her achievements, the very elements he overlooked, such as the trust of the partner, Aura Innovations, and Cassie's unwavering commitment to the truth, became the weapons that turned the tide against him. Finally, the most significant lesson is about resilience and self-validation. When faced with betrayal and stripped of everything, Cassie didn't crumble. Instead, she leveraged that setback as motivation to build something greater, proving that a person's worth isn't defined by their job title or the company they work for, but by their genuine competence, perseverance, and capacity for creation. The statement, "They erased my name, so I wrote it across their biggest failure," isn't just a personal declaration. It's a potent message about taking control of your own destiny when others attempt to erase you. Thank you so much for joining me and for listening to Cassie's journey. Her story is a testament to resilience, integrity, and the power of building something greater from the ashes of betrayal. I hope you found inspiration in her unwavering spirit. Stay tuned as I look forward to sharing our next compelling story with you very soon.